cold gets into the joints, and when they cut the taping off, my hand sprung out like 5 bananas connected with styrofoam. I mean, it's like, wow, right? Now what do I do with these? I can't get them in my pockets. I don't know what to do with them. But the beef represented, I feel like he was going to the body. That was his whole battle plan, to go to the ribs. And I thought, what an imagery. Here is this hanging beef practicing on the ribs. So when the fight does occur, we have a direct visual reference point, and we can string it together and have much more impact. Yeah.
Everybody's going to say and everybody is, that there's a possibility that there could be an Oscar nomination, awards for Rocky. Does that get into your thoughts at all?
No. If it happens, and I would like it very much to happen, of course, I'd like to win. I'd be, I think, kind of a fool if I didn't. But I don't think that's going to happen. It would be an amazing end to an Odyssey if it did. I just don't think. I don't think that people can readily accept that much of a change, that much of a out of nowhere. Who is this person? And then all of a sudden to bestow an award on him. I think it kind of frightens people at times. They say, what is this? How come we didn't figure this out? Nobody figured it out. It just happened. It was luck. Honest guys, there was no plan. It was just blind luck.
Listen, we've got a few minutes left when we get back, and I'd like to find out just a little bit about you.
Sure.
We know about Rocky, so we'll be back right after this word with Sly Stallone. Well, you saw a little bit of Rocky. Not a lot, but I hope enough to get you into the movie theater and find out how beautiful a film can be. When I watched it, you got me tired just from the, as you mentioned earlier, the training aspect of a fighter. And you've stayed in pretty good shape then.
Well, yeah, I have to say that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere near this position if it hadn't been for physical fitness training all the time. It's something that I've done since I was about 13 years old. There's a line in the movie that Rocky says, well, my father told me I wasn't born with much of a brain, so I better develop my body. Well, that kind of happened to me at around 13, so I took it to heart. And it wasn't until I was 27 years old that I realized I did have a brain. I thought it was just a hollow drum up there. And as in the meantime, I just lifted weights, but it paid off, and it's become a habit, and I've learned discipline from that. And from that discipline, I think that's what got me through the writing and all that every day, that mundane chore is very boring, very lonely.
Was the writing hard?
Well, it's the rewriting that is hard to me. The initial writing is all right, but it's the rewrite when everyone wants to put in their ideas that you tend to get confused. It's like having 7 or 8 coaches on a football team. You can imagine like 4 plays going off in different directions. So that was a little difficult, but that's the price you pay.
I'm curious about something. As a writer, you have, there it is, it's sitting right there.
Right.
And you pick it up and you take it around, and I'm guessing, how would you try to interest somebody in that property? Now you're Rocky in the film, and you're the screenwriter. Did you find yourself being defensive about things? Were you quick to change? Were you quick to take advice on maybe a correction here, a correction there? Or how personal is that piece of property to you? How personal?
Well, it's the ideas are very, very flexible. I take advice from criticism from anybody. A bus driver will come over and say, I don't like the way that's being, and I'll listen to it because I think that it's very valid, and you have to be flexible because you can only put so much of your brain into a script, and after that you become what is known as written out. You can't, you've given us your best, and now you need some outside input. So I was very, very open to anyone's suggestion. For Burt Young and Talia Shire and Burgess Meredith, I saw their speech patterns, the way they move, so I would write the character and the dialogue to suit them. For example, Burt Young's, the way he speaks, he juxtapositions. He'll say, instead of saying, I want you to come over to my house tonight, he'll say, over my house tonight, I want you to come. Yeah. So I had to rearrange sentences to go along with that. So instead of him coming to me, I wanted to go to him, and I think that is somewhat reflected in their characters.
Take one, marker.
Stallone.
Right.
And action.
You know what I'm curious about after seeing the film Rocky was there a Rocky in your life? Is there a Rocky, or was that somebody that just came out of story writing?
No, it's a fictional character, but I think most people have a Rocky in them, and that is a man who is dying to get out, dying to do whatever he wants to. Like, for example, if one man wants to be an artist, just for the ability to have the chance to be an artist. A man wants to be an athlete. He'd just like to carry that ball one time. So that's what I mean when there's a Rocky in each of us. But it's a fictional character. It's more of a state of mind than an actual, based on an actual character. The format, of course, is very strongly designed around Rocky Marciano. The man dreams of being Rocky Marciano. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the equipment to be a great legendary fighter such as Marciano was.
You had, in the credits, it said that the boxing choreography was done by you.
Right.
So you had a background in boxing?
No, it was just a matter of studying the styles. I went all the way back to Stanley Ketchel fighting Jack Johnson at the turn of the century. And what I wanted to do was take the best moments from fighting for the past 70 years and condense them into 9 or 10 minutes, and that way I had a surefire fight sequence. At least all those men that had paid the price for many, many years, I condensed it, so I knew that was the formula. Then I had to choreograph it so there was a rhythm there. It just wasn't random slaughter, as it were. It was a kind of a ballet and movement, and it finally built to a crescendo. It wasn't just haphazard punching.
I noticed that, the movie opens with a fight,
right?
And you're obviously not less equipped physically, but less equipped as a talented fighter,
right,
in that particular opening than you are. You're dynamite when you get in the ring for the final fight, the championship fight. Now, in fact, I wanted to mention that the movie's of great local interest here because Talia Shire is Francis Ford Coppola's sister.
Right.
That's San Francisco. Carl Weathers played with the Oakland Raiders.
Right.
And I forget, was he a running back?
No, he was a linebacker.
Linebacker. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of
did you at all
realize in the production of that movie that it was going to be good? That it was going to be special?
Well, truthfully, when I walked out of the trailer, it was about 4 degrees, and in Philadelphia, the first scene was a running scene. And I wasn't sure about the director, how much he was going to be involved in this. And I walked out, and there I saw him laying in the gutter with a camera, and with the wind and the rats and everything blowing over him. I knew that we had total dedication. I knew I could hold up my part. Now I knew he could hold up his, and I thought we were going to, and I knew then we were going to be all right.
Yeah, because some of the scenes are so dynamic. The scenes with Burgess Meredith, and then of course the other side of Rocky, the tender side, the side with Talia, the girlfriend, and. Now, Bert was the brother of Talia in the movie. Mm-hmm. Now, when you were messing with the sides of beef, see, I got all these questions. I'm just so curious about these things because there seemed to be some scenes in that film where you couldn't look at your partner and say, somebody else is doing it, when you were doing those crazy one-arm push-ups and some of the running scenes. I just knew as a runner, this guy really runs. What about the side of the beat? Were you actually hitting that stuff?
Oh, yeah. Again, when you're doing a film that...
Pulling.
No, that I couldn't pull. So they would tape my hands until they were like cement. But after about 14
When you got in the ring with Carl Weathers, how'd you guys do? Did you hurt each other? Or was there...
Well, there was. I mean, Carl is, when the people see the film, he's a rather large, rambunctious human being, and... he had to learn how to throw a punch. He didn't know how to pull a punch. And it takes a lot of talent to learn how to pull a punch because it's twice as hard. Because as you go out, you have to be able to stop your punch. So it's like, whereas a normal boxer, of course, wouldn't do that. He would just let it go. So
now, are you pulling those on the body?
I am touching his skin. I'm pulling him as soon as I make contact with his flesh because several times in the fight, we did get a little carried away when we heard the fight crowd, and Carl would come out, and he actually thought he was a champion. He would tap me a few times in the forehead, and those gloves were special gloves. They were sent from Mexico. They're illegal in this country. They're called Casanovas, so they're very, very hard gloves. It's like being hit with a cinder block. So when he hits me a few times, I say, Carl, please, you understand? I wrote you into this movie. You are my imagination. Do you understand? You are a character from my mind. I'm getting beaten by my own dreams. I don't understand this. So he did it again. So on the ropes, if in the second round, when I start coming back on him, that was an actual altercation when they separate us and we're yelling, he's going to get that gorilla back to his corner and all that. That we got a little carried away, but that's bound to happen. Out of the actual damage, I think Carl broke his thumb, I broke my ribs, I had a cracked sternum, and Carl had water on both knees and lacerations.
Just a simple little movie.
Yeah, right, in his
really
spine, and a U-turn in his back, and things like that, and I have permanent whiplash. But I'll tell you, it was worth it.
Maybe Bing Crosby will sell You Going My Way. You, could, you know, just as a sequel to this thing.
Carried away, it should have been.
No, it's a fantastic film. It's and as you said, there's a Rocky in all of us, and it comes out. What have you been able yet to show the film to have boxers seen it?
Oh yes.
What do they say?
Well, Angelo Dundee saw it and said, when I quit, he'd like to handle it. I said, no, it's Fako. And I heard that Ali saw it and liked it very much. Kenny Norton saw it. He enjoyed it, and it's been very well received because it's. The training procedure has never really been depicted before on film, and the actual running and the pain and the push-ups and all that. Everything was glamorous. This is not so glamorous at times.
No, it's not at all.
But then again, it's back and forth. I definitely, when I wrote it, I went back and forth across the line of reality, and that was intentional. I wanted to paint a picture as the way I wish it was, rather than the way it is. I wanted to incorporate a little bit of magic in the movie, and that's what I think the audience is responding to.
Well, I got a bunch of other questions for you about it because it's an absorbing film, and I think it's probably going to be one of the biggest pictures of its time as far as the boxing film. Listen, we've got a film of about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and this is just an encapsulation of some of the events or activities in the film.
Okay.
We'll give you an idea of what Rocky's like, and then you got to watch the other. What would be left? 198 minutes?
Yes, another 2 hours.
2 hours.